Hello and welcome to the Outside the System podcast with your hosts, me, Brad Stafford, and my wife, Aubree.
Hello.
Where we discuss all things homeschool, parenting, essentially unplugging from the matrix, I guess, if you want to say that, despite the fact that we still have a little bit of a cord in the matrix. In this episode, we're going to discuss what life was like for us early in our marriage to go from one kid to two kids, and ultimately how homeschooling and having Aubree at home kind of changed a lot of how we looked at life, what we did, and really how you can too. So, Aubree, take it away.
So in the last episode, we talked about just how having our first child just put us on a different trajectory than we hadn't thought about it. We were not like people who got married. You know, we got married early. We were 23 and 24. So we had not thought, okay, we're going to get married, have kids right away and start homeschooling. We kind of just, got married, got pregnant quickly, had Micah, and then started changing the way we thought about things really quickly.
Yeah.
Without really putting too much thought into it.
Yeah.
And so we had Micah, and like once I was staying home with him, I knew there was no way that I wanted to go. Like I had lots of jobs growing up in high school, college. Everyone made fun of me. I had lots of jobs. And I always just felt like never had I ever had a job, even like my big, grown up jobs after college. I had never really felt like I was doing anything other than getting paid for being somewhere. Mm-hmm. And it was when we had our first child and I was home with him that I was like, okay, this is what I meant to do. So then, I stopped watching TV, started reading more books about, like parenting, kids, and we just started kind of going in a different direction.
And I think at first, I think a lot of our family, because we'll have to talk about that in another episode of how we managed different relationships within our family when we were doing things a lot different, including moving to Cape Town for 10 years.
Right.
Initially, I think it was selfish in a sense of what other people saw it as. But what we saw it as is this was actually what was best for our family. You not leaving was actually what was best. And we didn't think, because in the future we're going to homeschool and we're going to do this and we're going to do this. It was just at the time, those were like natural
progressions.
Yeah, like a natural progression. And I wouldn't say it was selfish. I think it was really just saying, well, why is this the way that it was always done? Like, why are we just going to ship them off to school? Why are we going to do this? Why are we going to do that? Right. So then when Eliza was born, we were in the house in Maryland, a small
by the Chesapeake Bay. Yeah. It was like a fishing village kind of like a mix of the houses by the water by the Chesapeake Bay. And if you're familiar with that area, obviously those are nice. We called them like Great Gatsby houses. Yeah. But then they were just like,
normal
mix of people. And so
crabbers. And
we were kind of, it was a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom because that's all we could afford because we did like everyone told you to do, in 2005 or 7 or whatever that was, that, you should buy rather than rent. And so all we could really afford was a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom. And then, when we found out we were going to have another baby, Micah was like, 18 months because they were 2 years apart. Yeah. We were like, how are we going to fit 2 kids in this little tiny room? And so we started thinking about maybe, moving somewhere else. And we ended up landing on, I guess we went out to Winchester first. Yeah. But that was, so we sold our house in Maryland, or like where we were by the Chesapeake Bay. Yeah. And we moved in with my parents for a while. Yep.
Yeah. Right? We lived with them for a little bit. And then it was.
So that was all with Eliza was that time. Yeah. Yes. And then because my parents, like my family's been very blessed to have family farms on my mom's side. So I always grew up eating like fresh eggs, fresh sausage, very spoiled now that, we live in the world that we do now. Yep. And when we had moved in with my parents, that's when we started really questioning a lot of the food.
Yes. Yeah. Because it was, you always loved to cook, bake.
Yeah.
It was always a pleasure to eat at your table. Still is.
Thank you.
No disappointments. For...
Even though I put liver in the bolognese this week for the first time.
I'll take the liver. I'll take the liver, leave the soy. But that was a big one, because being around your parents and really just being around and like seeing our little kids and saying, why are we feeding them this thing?
It wasn't like we were bad. We were like, I mean, I was always from like, late teens, aware of what I was eating. I kind of had stopped eating junk food, but we grew up as like 90s kids where, and my dad, I'm sure, is going to listen to this, but we had all the tasty treats you could think of.
Oh, I need to tell this story. The first time that I went over to Aubree's house, I looked in a cereal, like a cabinet, and as a kid, my mom was the most sugary cereal that we got was maybe Frosted Flakes or Cinnamon Toast Crunch. When I
You had Life cereal.
That was not cinnamon. But Life was
like a low grade.
But when I opened this cabinet, it was like every commercial for every sugar cereal that I could imagine was presented before me. Cocoa Puffs, Fruity Pebbles, Chocolate Pebbles,
Count Chocula,
Cookie Crisp. I'm like, where do I start?
Yeah.
Where do I start?
I mean, Cinnamon Toast Crunch was like basic.
You're like, gosh, we're at the bottom of the barrel with the sugar cereals.
My dad is a reformed cereal holic. He's now into the more like quote unquote healthy cereals, but back then, I mean, that's what
there wasn't. I didn't feel like, and to interrupt. Sorry to interrupt, but I don't think there was that many people radically bucking the food system at the time. You had to be sort of like with homeschooling, you had to be a real like fringe kind of a person. And that's what's so interesting about when we first started 18 years ago to where it is now, how much it's actually changed. And the same thing with the progression of people going, wait a second, why am I putting this in my mouth? What am I doing here? Those are the things that, like, especially when it came to the meat that we were eating. And with Eliza, so we moved out to Winchester.
So no, we didn't do that until after Abram. That's when I was pregnant with Abram. So we were in Davidsonville with my parents. And that's when I first saw that documentary about the chickens. Because like I said, we grew up eating farm fresh eggs all the time.
Beef.
Beef. My uncle, we would get beef from him. But no one had done like chicken processing, right? And I saw that documentary that really, just explained how chickens are not meant to be like so white meat breast heavy.
Right.
And once you start thinking about that.
That was a fringe documentary at the time. And then it's sort of like a lot of times when you're faced with the truth of something, you either sort of like pretend that truth doesn't exist and carry on the same way, or you deal with that truth and go, okay, I have to do something different. And I think that was chicken for us.
Yes, because I think also there was something different to me too about having a girl.
Yeah.
Just because even back then, it was all coming out about how all of these different hormones in the things that we eat, specifically meats, could potentially have an impact on girls and their getting their cycle earlier.
Right.
And I did not want my daughter to be so young, having to deal with that. And so, we just started doing research into it. And my mom's like a farm lady. She's done all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
And I think they did used to do chickens when she was younger.
Yeah.
But she hadn't, done that a long time. So we really had to start figuring out on our own. Yeah. Remember? And
And you said to me, can you process
you can figure
chickens?
out it.
Well, do you understand I grew up in a neighborhood and the wildest animal we had was an outdoor cat. So yes. So I hit it was actually a blessing at the church we were going to at the time. And I think that's one of the things that what we want to do with Anyone Can Homeschool is be an additional resource that someone can reach out to. So for example, I remember Mark at church, he was processing chickens.
Right.
And so I just said, hey, can I come over and show me what you do, how to do things.
Yeah.
So he was able to give me a good amount of time and assistance. I helped him with one of his processings.
Right.
And then it was, okay, let's do this on our own. So the first chickens.
But it was a while because, so we moved in with my parents after I had Eliza. And we lived there for a little while. Then we moved out to the Shenandoah Valley because, Brad and I both come from families where really no one had really left that area.
Yeah.
I've got lots of cousins, aunts and uncles, and everyone was pretty much around like a
Yeah.
half an hour radius. And both of us were just, we kind of wanted to see some other places. We liked the Shenandoah Valley. We went out there for a while. Until Eliza was like 2.
Yeah.
And then we got pregnant with our third. And then that's when my parents offered for us to buy the house they lived in.
Yeah.
And then they remodeled my great-grandparents' old house.
Yeah. Very beautiful house now.
Right. And so that's when we really got into it.
Yeah.
Remember, so we went all in on the chickens. And so, yeah, and Brad learns a lot he definitely is a visual learner.
Yes.
And so going and working with the guy from church that was doing it.
Yeah.
And then watching YouTube videos because, YouTube had so many interesting
it's such a
content,
it sort of like ties in with the homeschooling because and this was something that for me, you had started to homeschool, you had started to work with Micah a little bit.
Yeah, he was little.
But it was still like you're going in that trajectory.
Yeah.
I had looked at school as I just need to pass this test. Not as like as
I was like the original, school's terrible, school's a waste of time.
Correct.
And so it wasn't really hard to I didn't have to convince you at all. Like, I think you just really from the beginning were like, because Brad got the, ADHD diagnosis. And I will say his mom fought for him.
She did.
She really did fight for
She
him.
kept me off drugs as long as she could, Mom.
Yes, but I think the hard part was that it really did affect your self-esteem with relation to school. Because
I think learning is what it was.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's what it was. Like school, I never really... I didn't feel bad that I got bad grades. And my parents never made me feel bad.
Which is actually just kind of funny.
I never felt bad. What I actually, I feel like I genuinely missed was what I've learned since is you're always learning. And this is the process by which you should be applying to life. So I feel like school never really taught me how to learn, but I've learned a lot from YouTube. So that was essentially my first, I'd done other things like rewired some of the house and
you had been hunting.
yeah.
So I think that was around after like our third was when we first really did
the
heavy. So we got baby chicks, raised them. They're probably like 60 something.
Yeah.
Right.
No. The first one was
smaller.
The first batch we did. Let's just say
were they like 20 maybe? Like how many chickens?
Maybe like 25. And I did it with my friend Luke, who he also zero experience farming, but I said, hey, help me do these chickens. He's like, sure.
And I feel like it was also maybe the time, like, weren't there a lot of like chef shows that were like pretty big at the time? Remember like Top Chef and all those ones? So I feel like that kind of thing was becoming more like culturally
farm to table
popular.
Kind of thing.
Yeah.
Sure.
And so the first time we had the chicken, so I grew up eating chicken breast. Like I don't even think I ate like dark meat chicken. And so Brad uses like this machine. It looks like hands, the thing with the feathers, but you didn't have that yet.
Yeah. So the first time I generally learned the idea from Mark. Okay, you got to dunk them, and then you got to pluck them, and then bada bing boom baps.
Yeah.
You got chickens, and it's a whole process. Right. YouTube, you can find anything on YouTube. But the first ones, I didn't feed them enough. I didn't do the boil temperature right for the
dunking.
for the feathers.
Yeah.
So basically, you had skinless squash.
He said he basically had to skin the chickens, and I'm sorry to my friend Justine if she just listened to this, but so basically, I had all these chickens that had no skin, so I couldn't really roast them.
Yeah.
But obviously, we're going to eat them. We had a big deep freeze, so then I used YouTube to figure out how do you break down a chicken well. And I got myself some really thick shears and really learned how to break down a whole chicken.
Yeah.
Which, I felt so accomplished after that. Like I think it was like a Top Chef thing where you're like, I'm going to take this and break it down. You use the same vocabulary like they do. Like break down this chicken. Right. And you put in all the parts. And it really does. I think the thing that was most eye-opening for me is that like in our system that you just go to the store and buy like 6 chicken breasts, that's 3 chickens. Where's the rest of all that? Right. And you realize you're like, it's just, you realize so much more that this is the whole animal and then there is that component of you raised it.
Yeah.
And you took your time, you took care of these animals, and then clearly you're not going to throw all that stuff away.
Right. I think
Right?
that was, that was like, okay, well, I don't really eat wings.
Yeah, you do. Right.
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And figuring out how to change, like a lot of the time, a lot of the recipes are like chicken breast this way, or you're cutting up, you're dicing chicken breasts and putting it in like butter chicken or that kind of recipe. So trying to figure out, now I have whole chickens and I have, 2 breasts, 2 thighs, 2 wings, 2 legs. Like, what am I going to do with all this? So it made me have to learn more about how to cook more like holistically, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like learning how to cook with these chickens.
Yeah.
Not just going and buying things for a recipe at the store.
Right. What do I do with what I've been given? And I think the other thing is, the first time that I did it, it was a fail. Other than the fact that
we ate it all.
We ate it. It was food.
Right. I think I made a lot of soup.
Yeah, but I think that was also, I don't want to say foundational for me, but important to say, you fail forward.
Yeah.
This wasn't a failure. This was a learning experience, and then apply what you've learned, good, bad, and ugly, to the next time that you do it. Doesn't mean that you get that, well, I'll never do chickens again, man. Like the navel gazing. And the same thing with you, with the food, well, I'm only used to doing this. Well, I can't learn anything else.
Right.
I don't know how to apply anything else. So it's like failing forward in those things that you're doing is like, that's like foundational for homeschool, because you're never going to be like perfect. You're never going to read out loud and never going to have the setting right and all that stuff. You just have to kind of just fail forward, knowing this is is it easier to buy chickens at the grocery store? 100%. But this is actually a better use of my time and energy, because then by the second go around, we had looped the kids into the process.
Yeah, it was a little bit older. And that was another thing, is that we wanted our kids to know that food didn't come from the grocery store.
Right.
Like, especially if you're eating meat, like, you have to understand that this was a living thing.
Yeah.
And that,
there's value to the animal
for you to eat it.
Yeah.
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 And then when you did it the second time, that's when you guys kind of did more of that little
the chicken plucker.
The chicken plucker, with the thing that looked like hands in the
they're like little rubber. It's like an upside down like washing machine, but then it has like these little rubber fingers. So you dunk it and then you chuck it in there, and
that time it turned out so much better.
Yeah. So we went from, I think the first time we did 25, and then the second we did like 125, because I was failing forward hard.
Right.
I was like,
and it
if
really
we're going to do it,
change like the whole way that you grocery shop.
Yeah.
Because you're just having like whole chickens like that.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to use the same like chicken breast recipe or idea that you would before.
Right.
Right. So I think that part, like, we both kind of had to adapt. But I felt like it actually, like, as corny as it sounds, it felt like a more natural way of cooking, because you're just dealing with like this whole ingredients.
Yeah.
And we can't live like that right now. Like, we don't have a farm. We don't have access to, like a whole chicken now. Organic chicken is like
$3,000.
It's $3,000. Very expensive to do that. So, but even just the fact that we were able to experience that, and we did it for a couple of years.
Yeah. Yeah, because then we sort of layered in.
We did the goats.
Again, reach out to a friend of ours, family friend who had been
in the show dairy goat show.
Those ladies' goats were just posh.
They were very posh goats.
But we milked.
Brad had never. That's another funny one where Brad had never. They lived not far from us.
Yeah.
And so we knew that they were doing goats, and again, we had like our third baby, and I really got into researching raw milk.
Yeah.
And was convinced that it was the way to go.
Yeah.
And we just went to her house one day. And again, Brad was not a farmy guy. Like, so when we first...
Don't tell the chicken story.
So the chicken story is so funny. There was a chicken, and we had this... like,
so we were just starting to date.
Yeah. And
we just started dating.
This little barn, and a chicken got stuck in the barn. Like, its head was stuck.
Well, it got loose first. I'd pursued this chicken because it had gotten out of the area, the coop,
like the run,
the chicken run, and I'd pursued this chicken with fervor. And then Aubrey's like, just pick it up, and I was like, okay. So every time I would get close,
it would flap.
To this flapping around chicken, it would flap around, and then eventually it got cornered in the barn somewhere. Its head was basically completely out of sight of me. All I had to do was put my hands on both sides of its wings and lift it up. There were magnets in my hand. I couldn't. I would go.
He would just grab it. It was so funny.
Hands on it.
It was so funny.
So to go from that
to we go to her house to watch her whole goat operation and how she milks goats and all that. And Brad was like a goat milking savant. It was like all of his years of playing hockey and doing like the little forearm exerciser. He was definitely better at milking goats than I was. So yeah, we just kind of like
putting that in my bio. Goat
milking savant. Well, we just started kind of seeing it as like stacking skills that we wanted to have.
Mm-hmm.
And not knowing that it wasn't going to last for us for that long. That wasn't like we were like, okay, we're going to be homesteaders and this is just what we're going to do forever.
Yeah.
It was more, we wanted to learn those kind of things. And it's nice because, you know, hopefully we'll be able to do that again. But it hasn't been part of our life for over 10 years.
Yeah.
So it hasn't been. But just, I feel like knowing that we can do those kind of things. And also, it really was a great feeling to have animals like that you really contributed to your family. You know, like when you have animals that your children are
responsible for.
Yeah, but also that the children are like being nourished by the yogurt from this goat that you make, from the cheese from this goat. And I think another thing, like one of the harder parts when we first moved to Cape Town was that I had been so used to being outside for a purpose with our kids. Like we would, you know, go outside and play, but we also had a lot of things to do, you know, so we would take our scraps out and throw them to the chickens, or we would have to do purposeful things. So it was a weird thing for me to get used to, that you just like went outside for like watch your kids play on like the playground or something. It was a weird, so I think that's one of the things I loved about that kind of life, is that your day fills with those kind of little things that you need to do too.
Yeah, like responsibilities, and it can feel. There's times when it feels like a burden, but then when you're not doing it, you actually realize that's okay. Yeah, you see the benefit. That burden. It's sort of like
hard.
Yes,
because it was hard where we had 3 little kids. Yeah. So we had 3 little kids, and obviously, when you have animals to take care of and goats have to be milked morning and evening, that was Brad having to go do those things. So it would be, you know, me bathing the kids alone, or me putting the kids to bed, where, you know, at the time, there might have been some like, what must be nice feelings coming from me at the time.
When I'm out sweating in a goat shed or freezing in a goat shed.
One year he made a portable air conditioner because it was so hot. Remember, you made like a portable air conditioner in a 5-gallon bucket?
Yes.
What was that again? It was like
ineffective.
It was better than nothing.
It was a placebo effect. I was like, "Oh, this is cooling me down." It wasn't cooling me down.
Really? At least it looked like it, because you had to go in.
It was a fan.
Yeah,
it was.
But you had to go in and shut yourself in the goat milking shed, or the other goats would try to come in.
Yeah.
So it was stifling.
Yeah.
You know, when it's 90 degrees. Okay, it's not as humid as Florida, but like pretty humid in the summer.
In that goat
shed, it was not comfortable. So you were doing a lot
when you're underneath of a sweaty goat, it sweats on you.
Yeah, but I think all those kind of things that you have to do hard things to see the consequence.
Yes.
And those things you just learn how to apply in your life in general.
Yeah. And you have to, and I think it's like with adapting, I mean, obviously not everybody has the opportunity to do the farming, despite every, like the homeschool Instagram is like, look at my kids in this farm thing. It's like, get out of here with that stuff. Like, what's real life?
No, and that's a thing too, where some of our, you know, our older kids spent their early years there, and then they lived in neighborhoods in Cape Town for most of the time. They were at the beach all the time, and they were doing things outside. And then we live in a neighborhood in Florida, and we were joking yesterday, one of our friends at church said it was swamp season in Florida, and which it is. But then we came back and there's a bunch of water in the swales. We came home and our kids were so pumped that it's tadpole season.
Yep.
So once you develop habits with your children that they just spend time outside, they just will. I mean, our kids, we have a tiny yard here and they are always outside. They find bird nests. Like Susanna's so excited because she thinks she found the location of where these baby lizards are coming from. Like she's been on the hunt to try to find where these lizards lay eggs.
Yeah.
And it's not like we're making her go outside and play.
Right.
So I think it's one of those things where obviously it's nice to be able to have your own food. Obviously you learn a lot from farming.
Yeah.
And we would love to do it again. But at the same time, you can make the best use of what you have.
Yes.
And your kids are still going to learn. I mean, just from the birds, lizards, frogs, like all the things just in our little neighborhood in Florida.
Yeah. I think the reality is the only thing that you can control is your attitude.
Right.
And how Aubree and I's attitude goes, so goes the rest of the house. And whether we're complaining about the heat all the time or going, oh, I wish we had farm again, or complaining like that, then everybody's going to have that complaining attitude. So it's like, just find the things that you're grateful for. And even if it's like low, like, oh, I'm glad I didn't get struck by lightning, and start being grateful for things there.
Yeah.
And then it shows with the kids to just say, and within the homeschooling, there isn't a lot of, there's structure, but it's not so rigid that, you know, John can't wander out shirtless and start, you know,
looking at some bugs.
Looking at bugs. You know, like, so it really is saying, find those things wherever, whatever situation you're in, whether you're a farmer or whether you're in a neighborhood, and just say, okay, what are some interesting things that I can let the kids kind of go play with? Because that was the other thing that I think we learned at the farm, and you learned pretty early as we started to have more kids, to sort of go back to the purpose of the original message of the podcast is, how did that adding more kids change the relationship with each kid? So, I mean, obviously we have 8 now. We had to they just sort of stacked on top of each other. And then the old, you know, Micah, we joke, he got the most attention.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that Eliza got less attention. She just got it different. And then Abram got different attention. And then the other kids kind of had to learn, and you had to set like a boundary with having a little kid to say, okay, this is mommy and the baby's time. Yeah. Go figure out what you're going to do.
It helps. Obviously I played a lot more one-on-one with Micah because it was just Micah and me.
You guys,
I remember like just playing cars with him.
Yeah.
But I think it actually makes it easier when you have more children because they play together.
Yeah.
They play together. I think the certain things we've done are like the non-negotiables that we kind of set up is that in the beginning with our older kids, I think I let them watch like a 30-minute show. There was no like screen time in the sense of like there weren't iPads yet, really. I mean, there were iPads. Yeah. But it just didn't become even something that I really thought about letting them do. So they would watch a show on like my computer maybe, or like when we did have a TV, and that would be it. But then as we had more kids, I kind of felt like that actually wasn't helpful because I think if you rely too much on that, it just becomes a crutch. Yeah. And they do learn to play together well. I think obviously you can't just like leave them alone to play. As the mom, I mean, it's really cool because we found a camcorder that was, I think what Micah probably must have been like 5. Yeah. And he's walking around with the camcorder videoing things. Yeah. And you can just hear the way that I talk to him. And they're on the video, he and Eliza are playing in their play kitchen, and Abram was a baby. Abram's like 1. Yeah. And I'm sitting in there with them, and we're playing kitchen. We're playing together. So I'm there playing with them while they play kitchen, you know? And I think I don't play kitchen with the younger kids now, but I think that's because they kind of learned to play kitchen from each other. Yeah. You know, because I sat with the older kids, and it was that like together.
That early work at the beginning. Yeah. To make that sacrifice to say, could I be doing something else? Maybe, but what is this building for? Right. I think that's what a lot of younger families have a hard time with, is saying, is kind of like seeing the fruit of the work. You know, with Micah, he's 18, Eliza's 16, Abram's 14. We can see the fruit of that labor now play out. But when we were in the midst of, 5, 6 kids under the age of 10, you don't really see that. You're just sort of like, elbow deep in the work. But you can see that there's certain choices that you make to say, I'm doing this for the future. And you can see it play out.
Right. And kids at different ages require different kinds of attention.
Right.
So where I think, and I also think people kind of have this idea that you have to do like necessarily one-on-one attention all the time. Yeah. And there have definitely been times like during our parenting life where I would work on spending a little bit of dedicated time with each kid every day. And that is possible. Like if you just think, okay, I'm just going to spend 10 minutes with each kid every day. But now Mike is 18. He does not need me to sit next to him necessarily and be like, this is my 10-minute time I'm spending with him. But it's more like when the other kids are all in bed.
Yeah.
And we're able to chat.
Yeah.
You know, and we catch up with him like that. And, you know, with the teenagers, Eliza and I walk around the neighborhood all the time. You know, finding ways to just give each kid that special time with you, but not necessarily falling into the trap of, oh my gosh, it's a competition.
Yes.
And they all need attention in this, because the kids need different types of attention, different amounts of attention.
Yep.
I think they've all kind of understood. One of my like non-negotiables with having a lot of kids was that I really needed to make sure I could still read to them every night. And so in order to do that, I would make sure that I had to put the baby down or toddler down earlier rather than later. So to me, a big one was working on sleep of a baby toddler, so that then by 7 o'clock that, you know, baby or toddler is in bed and I can then have the time to read to the other kids, because I didn't want them feeling like, you know, mom has another baby and now she's MIA for bedtime, because that is one of my most treasured times, is sitting there reading to them. So that was one of those things where, to me, that was what I was focusing on. That was like my priority. I'm going to make sure that the baby's in bed by that time. And then it's also that, like, I'm with them all day long.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the difference too. And I think that's where you find well, you have to hit certain amounts with each kid and girls need this much attention. And there's truth in that. But when you're home all the time, and we've really been blessed that I've worked from home since Micah was a baby, or since I guess Eliza was a baby. So we spend essentially all our time together. Wake up in the morning, dad's downstairs reading. Okay, then dad's making breakfast, and then the other kids get up, and here's what's going on. Oh, lunchtime, here's what's going on. Dinner time, you know, so we didn't really have to budget, I guess, for time to say we need to give them this much time.
And also, like, you know, sometimes you see maybe that you have like a 3 or 4-year-old that's acting up a bit. Often it's just because you need to just spend some dedicated attention time with them. And so when you see that, then it's there's been lots of seasons where I would start every day homeschooling by reading a book, like a picture book, to the younger kids. Picking the 3 or 4-year-old, putting on my lap,
sort of
sitting and reading a book. So I think obviously with 1 to 2, it's an adjustment. With 2 to 3, clearly also an adjustment. But I think for us, we never really saw it as it was something like overwhelming. It's kind of just like you just fail forward. And you grow in like the sense of you give yourself grace, and you realize that so much of parenting is just doing your best. And we're all going to fail in some way. There's some days we're not going to do everything the way that we're meant to, or we wish we should have.
Some of your chickens are going to be skinny and skinny.
That's it. But it's really that, and I say this like almost, you know, everyone I talk to about having a big family. I think it is a blessing to see how much they love each other. And like, you know, we both have only one other sibling. And I love for our kids that besides you and me, they have so many other people that love them so much. And I think whether you compare that to a parent giving them, you know, how much undivided attention, just thinking like with our daughter Julia is one. I mean, she has people that just love her so much.
She's getting crushed on a regular basis.
Just by hugs.
Love crushing.
Love
crushing. But I think it's also kind of we've made that conscientious effort to make them know eventually it's going to be you guys. So we have to settle those conflicts. We have to let them know. Like I can remember when Isaac was a baby and John was 2 or 3. And he was going, this kid is useless. My older sisters aren't playing with me the same way. This little baby just sits here and just barely moves around. And I can remember telling him, I'm like, dude, just be patient. And it's not like I said this one time and he was like permanent in his memory. You repeat it 1 trillion times. But now he and Isaac are best buddies. And they're much different kids too. You know, John is let's build Legos. Let's set up things. Isaac wants to wrestle, crash things, like go out. So, but they play together. But they play together really well, because it's like, these are the people that are going to be around when we're gone. Guess what? Everyone dies.
Yeah.
And eventually we will die. And you guys have to build this bond now.
Mhm.
And it doesn't necessarily mean you have to have like 8 kids in order to do that.
No.
Because I think your aunt did that really well with
3 cousins.
Yeah, with your 3 cousins.
boys,
Like
yeah.
those guys are tight, you know, they don't always get along. And they're certainly much different people, all
Mhm.
3 of them. But you know, the way that your aunt and uncle raised those kids, they know that they're a family.
Yes.
And
They're
so
very
those
loyal.
3
Yeah.
are like loyal because they really made that like I think it was very purposeful to make that happen. So whether you have 2 kids or 10,
Yeah.
it is still like a purposeful thing that you've got to.
Yeah, and I think that's the like if you think about all the things that we are doing as parents, right? It just become overwhelming sometimes.
Yeah.
But really, I think the way that it kind of things ebb and flow so much that you can see at certain times if you need to work on your kids playing together, you just make that the priority for your day.
Yeah.
We were like, okay, I need to work on, these 2 kids playing well together. What can I do to help them play well? Do I need to give them suggestions? Like there might be some times where you kind of have to sit there and kind of model the playing for them and teach them how to do that. And we've seen that in interesting ways, like when you have girls that are older versus boys that are older, where we definitely have more of like, the girls will control the play in a different way than the boys do.
Yeah.
And so our kids play tons of make-believe. Like we have lots of Playmobil, Legos, lots of dress-up stuff. The girls will control the play differently. But as a parent, you may have to sit down and model that for your kids.
Yeah.
And I think, to me, that just helps me think, instead of feeling overwhelmed of all the things, you just pick the thing you're going to focus on for that day and say, okay, I'm going to really work with them on playing well together.
Yeah.
And I think you just have to work it. Just like anything else, you start small, you just do that same thing, the repetition, go on and on. Yeah.
You keep working at it too, because they're just like with, telling John, just wait, Isaac's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It is just that failing forward of he didn't get it this time. He's still complaining about it. I'm going to throw up my hands and complain. You just keep doing it. You just keep doing it. It's sort of like.
Yeah, and kids are they're really capable of a lot.
Yeah.
I think like when we get into more like, when we like just first moved out of the country, that can be a hard one too. And I'm sure we can talk about that in another episode, but
we'll do that next time.
The kind of has, as parents, we can kind of project things sometimes on our kids, which when you're like, oh my gosh, that was like nothing to them.
Yeah.
It was like nothing.
Yeah. They're actually, kids are a lot more resilient than you think.
Yeah.
They're a lot more resilient.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for joining me out here.
You're very welcome.
I appreciate it.
Uh-huh.
Check us out, anyonecanhomeschool.com, and reach out if you have questions or would like for us to discuss a certain topic or want to know who's taller in your family or anything like that. Shoot me an email, brad@anyonecanhomeschool.com. Have a great rest of your day.
Bye.